List comprehension is a way of creating lists or creating a list from an already existing list. Let's say we want to generate a list containing numbers 1 to 5. To do this, we can start by defining an empty list. So we can have something like nums is equal to an empty list. Now I'm going to be using the for loop and the range function to generate the numbers. Here I'm going to have for num in range. Here I will have 1 to 6. Then I'm going to be using the append method to insert values into the list. So here I can have nums.append. Inside the append, I'm going to have num. Now let me go ahead and print our list. So here I can have print nums. If I run this program, as you can see, this is our new list. So this is the list we were able to generate. Instead of going through this process to create a list, we can easily do so using the list comprehension, which is a concise way to create a list or create a list from an already existing list. So I can go ahead and remove this. Inside of this list, I'm going to have a variable. So let's call it num. Then I'm going to have for num in range 1 to 6. If I run this program, as you can see, we have been able to generate the same list. So this is a concise way of generating or creating lists. So this is exactly what list comprehension looks like. Now let's take a look at this example. This time around, we're going to be working with an already existing list. Now let me quickly copy this list and paste it here. Now, I'm going to be using the list comprehension to generate another list which contains multiples of the values contained in this list. Let's say I want to create another list. And in this new list, we want to have values like 1 times 2, which will give us 2, 2 times 2, which will give us 4. We'll have 6, we'll have 8, and 10. To do this, I can have something like result is equal to, I'll provide a square bracket. Inside of this square bracket, I'm going to have num for num in nums. Now I'm going to print out the result. So here we have print result. Let me comment this out. If I run this program, you can see we have the exact copy of the original list. Now this is the list that we want to create. To achieve this, inside of this square bracket, I'm going to be multiplying this num by 2. So here I'm going to have multiplied by 2. If I run this program, I'm going to have this list. Now, assuming I want to multiply by 3, I'll simply change this to 3. Then run the program, and as you can see, the values are multiplied by 3. Now, let's say I want to generate another list containing squares of the values in this list. I can as well have something like, let me change this to squares. So here we have squares, and I'm going to change this to squares. Then instead of multiplying this variable by 3, I'm going to be raising it to power 2. So here I'm going to have raised to power 2. Now, if I run this program, you can see we have the squares. Now, let's look at another example. And in this example, I'm going to be expanding this list to contain more values. So let's say something like 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, I'm going to be generating a new list from this list. So here I can have result is equal to square bracket. Here I can have num for num in nums. If I run this program, it's going to give me the exact list or the exact original list. So here we have print result. If I run this program, we have 1 to 9. Now I'm going to be introducing a condition in this list comprehension. Here I'm going to have if num is less than 6. With this condition, we're trying to ensure that the values in our new list are less than 6. If I run this program, you can see we'll have 1 to 5. Now let's say I want to get the even numbers. So let me change this to even numbers. I'm going to change this to even numbers. For this condition, I'm going to have if num modulo 2 is equal to 0. So this allows us to filter out the non-even numbers. So if I run this program, as you can see, we have only the even numbers. If I'm interested in the odd numbers, I'll simply change this to 1. If I run this program, we're going to be getting only the odd numbers. So with the list comprehension, we can be able to generate lists or create lists from already existing lists using one single line of code.